David Solomon, flying solo yet one more time. It's gonna be another 4 days before Stewart will be back. So it's just me. You got me, myself, and I on this rant network. But generally, it's a podcast Stewart and I have been doing for the almost we're in our third year. We're really, real big, you unfiltered and uncensored conversations on a wide range of topics. We go to the extreme of latest news, pop culture, politics, so much more. We love to talk about the absurdity of modern life, to discussions about the deeper issues that affect our society. And today we're going to talk about that affirmative action, the Supreme Court in the US that ruled the other day. This podcast is a platform dedicated for you to express your opinions, share your thoughts, experiences, and ideas in an unfiltered and uncensored manner. Here it's all about perspective and honesty. So sit back and relax and enjoy as I dive in today to another edition of the Rent Network. Could you imagine walking into a hospital and saying, I want an Asian doctor. I want an African American doctor. I want a Hispanic doctor. You don't get that choice, right? I mean, you could say you prefer one, but can you imagine walking into the reception area and saying, I only want to be seen by such a person? Or I want a gay doctor. I want a gender fluid doctor. Well, that doesn't happen. It's the same thing if you go to a law firm, an accounting firm. You just don't ask for those things. But at universities, apparently, it's exactly what happens. You apparently, your decision of, medical school or accounting or whatever, those schools wanted it to be all about race to ensure that, we have so many of every category. Now, this notion of quotas is not a new thing at the university level. Harvard's been accused of it, caught with their pants down many, many times. Other universities have had quotas. So to think that the Asian American community went after Harvard and the University of North Carolina to say that they are using discriminatory tactics in their admissions department because Asian Americans were being marginalized in their application is a little bit surprising when you think about it, that the whole idea is today, let us support minorities. But God forbid that should be the fact. No, the only minorities that matter are the ones on the left, the Democrats, liberals, whatever you want to call them, whom they deem worthy. Because you see, as a white male, I'm in the worst category. Asian Americans, Asian Canadians shouldn't be. But they take too many places up in university, according to the admissions people. They're too smart. So we got to make sure that we don't let them in. So let's use race. We'll use gender. We'll use all kinds of other criteria to make sure that we fill the seats with what we deem as the right people. Because they wrap themselves around the notion of this affirmative action business, but in reality, it's another form of discrimination. But the universities believe that what they're doing is to help the population, the poor African American, the African Canadian, the poor, Hispanic. It's unbelievable. So this past week, the Supreme Court voted 6-3, which means it was on conservative versus liberal lines, but there was one other judge who sided on this one, that this type of use of admissions is verboten. It's illegal. It's not in the Constitution. Now, if you think I'm crazy, I'll go back to this ruling, but if you think I'm crazy, I have filled out with my kids so many university applications. And it clearly asks you your race, gender, even sexual orientation. And could you imagine being told by a high school counselor, university counselor, guidance counselor for university applications, you as a white male, don't check off maybe that you're gender fluid or transgender. They're not going to check. But if you want to get into this university, that's what I would do. This is where we've gone. And the Supreme Court wisely said, that's wrong. And the amazing thing is that you've got Judge Sotomayor, a female, Judge Thomas, an African American, who voted against this policy and are being torn apart shred by shred in the media. That they, who, quote, benefited from affirmative action, voted against this. And to show you the disgusting part of it is that neither Sotomayor or Thomas merited the positions, merited going to university. It was all based on their race, their gender, whatever. Had nothing to do with meritocracy. This is what the left wants to get rid of. We want to get rid of meritocracy. We want to make it fair for the people that we believe should benefit from it. And so since Clarence Thomas and Judge Sotomayor benefited from affirmative action, how dare they vote it down? I mean, that's the disgusting part of the left. They're not looking at what's going on for real. This is, again, another politicized response. It's fascinating to see. Clarence Thomas said, he goes, with the passage of the 14th Amendment, the people of our nation proclaim that the law may not sort citizens based on race. It is this principle that the framers of the 14th Amendment adopted in the wake of the Civil War to fulfill the promise of equality under the law. Isn't it interesting that an African American who was raised in the South said that we should not organize ourselves based on race? But that's exactly what the left wants. They want equity based on race, based on what they believe is the right way, and that it means marginalize somebody. And in this case, the Asian American community is the one being marginalized. Doesn't matter. Judge Katani Brown Jackson, another African American, called the whole thing a tragedy and with the use of ostrich-like logic. Okay? She didn't look at this and see, she looked at it that this is just basically, wrong, that we should use race when it comes up to college admissions, because this is affirmative action. The left has gone absolutely ballistic. Michelle Obama. My heart breaks for any young person out there wondering what their future holds and what kind of chances will be open to them. How dare you? Fuck, how dare you? Michelle Obama, how dare you? This is the wrong cry. It's not about change the rules to accommodate a group. Why are we in this situation? Why is it that they believe that African Americans and Hispanics don't have opportunities? It's simple. The system's broken. Your K to 12, your kindergarten to grade 12 education needs to be fixed. Americans in general do not compete on the global stage in maths, in sciences, in engineering. There are other countries that are kicking the United States and Canada, by the way, butt because they've invested in their education. And now they're calling it, well, it's unfair. Because if you bring in Indian kids here and you bring in, Asian Americans, it's unfair. They're going to take up all the spots. So to flip this, we're going to call this, this is the next Jim Crow, right? We're white. I mean, what was the term she used? Nicole Hanna, we're calling out rich white people because you know what? We're whitewashing universities. I mean, the left has simply lost its mind. Nicole Hannah Jones is, she's like part of the 1619 Project. She's a crackpot. All they do is go after the white group. And it wasn't whites. This is not the white people who brought this to court. It's Asian Americans who said, this is wrong. You're not getting me a spot in any university because I'm not black. I'm not Hispanic. That's your criteria? It's wrong. It's so wrong. Racial discrimination is okay as long as it doesn't impact the African American community and the Hispanic community. Everybody else, it's okay. University admission is not the be-all and end-all. I mean, let's get real. You don't have the majority of Americans going, whether you're white or black or Hispanic or whatever. The majority of Americans do not, and Canadians do not go to university. University isn't made for everyone. Universities aren't even up to date in many cases. They're completely, flawed in so many levels. So to say that the only way to make this work is to send a kid to university, regardless, is the right approach. That's what's going to fix the racial divide. That's what the message is. And Michelle Obama, who I thought had more intelligence than that, is playing politics again. You see, even Joe Biden, you see the whites, the conservatives, they're against minorities. It's not about being against minorities. It's a broken system. I have had the pleasure, or I should say the privilege, to get an undergraduate and a postgraduate degree. I could tell you that for the people I went to university with, many of them shouldn't have been there. It's the wrong place. But mindset socially, if you don't have a university degree, there's something wrong with you. You're not going to have an equal opportunity. But not everyone is equal in the sense of what they can accomplish in life. I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I'm never going to get there. At best, I'm in business. But to tell me, go be a doctor, go be a transplant surgeon, you're out of your mind. That ain't happening. So the idea of forcing people who do not deserve it, who don't merit it because their grades aren't there or because they're not qualified, but because of the color of their skin they are, is cockeyed. I worked with an African American who literally lost his mind on the notion that we're going to get rid of SATs for minorities. He says, what is that? Help us to be better. Invest in the education, invest in the foundation. The foundation is education. Go into the schools and fix the problem. But instead, no, the liberals and the Democrats don't want to do that. There's no vote. There's no benefit to that because that's long term. I can't get reelected because the benefits of that won't happen for 12 to 16 years. I need something today. So, what cause can I tie myself into? Racism. We're here racism today. Affirmative action. The Supreme Court shooting it down. Well, that's racism at its best. Minorities are in trouble. We should protest. Let's go protest. Let's go. That's the left, folks. That's the problem. It's not about fixing. It's about dismantling. You're hurting one group to benefit another is racism. But now they're calling it equality. Affirmative action. This term it makes me ill to hear that. Affirmative action means hurting somebody else. The New York Times wrote the Supreme Court rejected affirmative action at Harvard and UNC. The major ruling curtails race-conscious college admissions in the United States, all but ensuring that elite institutions become whiter and more Asian and less Black and Latino. That's the reaction. Not this is a call to change, but a call to racism. That your skin, your heritage, whatever, is all that matters. For God's sakes, people, it's gross. And if you look at all of the media out there on the left, from MSNBC, CNN, the rest of them, of course, they've lost their minds. They've lost their minds. And to sit here and to say that, the Supreme Court justices benefited from affirmative action, now they got ruined it for their population is a load of garbage. It's time to make the change, folks, and stop sticking to this racism is the only way to go. Race doesn't work. Stop gathering them up. We're not sheep. Make the change. I challenged the left to take this on, but they won't, of course. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Rat Network. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, gained some valuable insights. We truly appreciate your support, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really do. Love those people who are liking us, sharing us, commenting. We love it. But we'll be back on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week with more thought-provoking conversations. Meantime, check us out on our new website. All of our past episodes are there. YouTube, Rumble, we're all there. Thanks again for listening. Have yourself a wonderful, long weekend, everybody.